Welcome back, everyone. On this channel, and of course many others like it, we all see Muslims in the comments section trying to convince Christians to leave Christianity, but they aren't very effective. It's the same old echo chamber talking points that we've all heard a million times. In this video, I want to do something perhaps controversial. I'm actually going to give Muslims my top 5 tips for getting Christians to leave Christianity. The first tip has to do with biblical preservation. Now, this might seem difficult, but Muslims, you can do it. You need to get everyone from popular level Christian apologists to pastors to professors to learn and repeat this simple phrase. The Bible has been miraculously preserved, word for word, letter for letter. This phrase needs to be taught in Christian homes, schools, churches, and universities. It needs to be published in popular level books and scholarly monographs. Fill the Christian world with this mantra. Now, is it true? No. And that's the point. When Christians find out they've been lied to by virtually all of their authorities, they'll wonder what else they've been lied to about, and many of them will leave Christianity. The second tip has to do with Christian apologists. The vast majority of them appear to be upstanding people. Occasionally, some show themselves not to be, at which point they are denounced by the Christian community. Now, that's got to stop. You need to cultivate Christian apologists who talk about wanting to see heads chopped off, who tell their critics to urinate on each other, make sexually explicit comments about their critics' wives, try to get people killed by doxing them openly, lying more after being caught lying, and just generally being obnoxious buffoons. When Christians see these new apologists gaining massive popularity, especially on platforms like YouTube, they'll definitely say, if that's Christianity, I don't want anything to do with it. Mission accomplished. The third tip has to do with the progress of nations founded on Judeo-Christian values. If you could demonstrate that such nations lag drastically behind in everything from human rights, and women's rights in particular, to technology, to basically everything, that would indicate the Christian worldview was more of a product of its time and unsuitable to the flourishing of humanity in our modern context. If the legitimacy of a worldview cannot endure through several centuries, then it certainly cannot endure through eternity, and as such cannot be true for all time. The fourth tip has to do with Jesus. The biblical portrait of him is a major problem for Christian apostasy. Jesus is an ancient person with an ethical framework that's way ahead of its time. People can't hope, for example, to live up to the standards of the Sermon on the Mount consistently. Jesus also crosses cultural divides. He's a healer. He wages war against Satan. It's good versus evil, something that's captured people's attention for a long time. He also predicts his own death, referring to it as a ransom. He predicts his resurrection as well, which his followers believed to have happened. You get the point. It's a problem. So what do you do about it? Well, you come up with a different portrait of Jesus. You need some sources. You can call them reports or whatever. Put all kinds of things in them. Okay, the only limit, Muslims, is your imagination. You can put anything in them from sex slaves to satanic verses to stuff about young girls and urine drinking. There is literally nothing too stupid or vile for these reports. Now, there won't be any textual evidence for them. No problem. Just make up something about somebody told something to someone who told something to someone and so forth. And you go all the way back until you get to one of Jesus's companions, like Peter or John. Now, by the time you're finished, you can have literally thousands of these reports. And that's how you construct an alternate portrait of Jesus to counter the biblical portrait. Do that. And as Christians become aware of this newly discovered truth about the final messenger of their religion, they'll leave Christianity. You can count on it. The fifth tip has to do with the biblical concept of heaven. In the Bible, heaven is God dwelling with his people. This theme extends from the first pages of Scripture all the way to the last. It's deeply theological, personal, and relational. It seems a bit too sophisticated for ancient writers. Instead, tell Christian men that their heaven is actually about fulfilling carnal desires with numerous voluptuous women. And if Christian women ask what they get in paradise, just change the topic. You could even add to this something about how there's no assurance of heaven. Tell Christians that their God is so arbitrary that they could get to within a cubit of heaven's door, almost able to reach out and touch it. And then the decree of their God takes over, and into the fire they go. It's like a divine trick. So not only does heaven sound like the Playboy mansion, but you might not even make it there to meet the celestial Hugh Hefner himself. So Muslims use any one or all of these 5 quick tips to help Christians leave Christianity. A final crucial note to Muslims. When using these arguments, don't think too hard about them and apply them to your own worldview. This is what the Islamic echo chamber is for. It's there to protect you. Otherwise, you might be tempted to see parallels with these arguments and your own worldview. And then you might be tempted to leave Islam. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.